Our story begins at a place called the Sharp Soldier's Forge on a beautiful day. Suddenly, the door bursts open and a young man is thrown out with great force by a big guy. The black-haired boy kneels, begging for forgiveness, but our protagonist seems to be used to it by now. Losing his patience, the huge man starts bonking the young man on the head with a kitchen ladle. This guy is Fatty Sun, the head cook, and he tells everyone to hurry up with the master's food. Then he praises a boy named Nuguy for being very hardworking and calls the others trash. The young men agree without complaining, while our protagonist just watches everything with a bored look on his face. We see that the black-haired boy is completely tired of his daily routine in this place. Out of nowhere, the head cook turns to the young man and yells, asking if he doesn't want to eat. Our hero is quickly startled by the scolding and agrees to get to work right away. Because he was startled, he ends up dropping all the firewood he was holding onto the ground. Later that night, the boy is alone and says that tomorrow will be his big day of change. For now, he decides he will endure all this exploitation and wait for what's to come. The next day, a gentleman gives the young man 30 copper coins and tells him to be back before sunset. The boy runs off, super excited to finally be able to leave that place after a month. The boy is finally free and looks at the big city with a smile on his face. He thinks about the ceremony that requires the 5 sacrificial animals, but the blood is very expensive. The boy then remembers that he can't use an ox because it's against the law, and the punishment would be very severe. After a while, he gets the blood of other animals but has spent 26 copper coins. Carrying his purchases, the hero walks down a street and stops in front of a place called Liang's Fishery. There, he hears a crowd talking about a boy who caught a spirit fish in Jade Lake. Our protagonist is confused since a fish like that could feed a family for years. A muscular man shows off the fish, which weighs 12 jin, and tells everyone to back off because it's very expensive. Someone offers 12 silver taels, leaving the young man shocked by the value, which is a fortune. After seeing that, the boy decides to go home, following the memories of the body's previous owner. He arrives at a door and knocks a little until a voice asks if it's the third brother who has returned. The door opens and his second brother, Lilin, greets him happily and invites him inside. The older brother tells him to rest and that he will prepare food because his sister-in-law is working. The boy is relieved that his brother didn't insist on talking with him for too long. Alone in the courtyard, the protagonist is finally home after so much time working at the forge. In his home's courtyard, the young man finds the perfect spot to begin his secret ritual. With a bucket in hand, he prepares to use all the blood he bought earlier in the city. The boy begins to pour the liquid on the ground to perform the ceremony of the 5 sacrificial animals. After a while, the formation circle is ready, and he says that he has practiced this many times. The disciple Li Zhou begins to recite an incantation to start his grand plan. He then kneels before the circle and humbly prays for his ordination from the Sky Swallower. After a few seconds, he realizes nothing has happened and wonders if he failed for not reading the scriptures. Disappointed, the boy falls to the ground, yelling and crying over all the money he wasted for nothing. Suddenly, a sharp headache hits him, and a red aura starts to come out of his body. Kneeling on the ground, the young man feels an unbearable pain as strange markings appear on his arm. Amidst all this red energy, a dark and demonic-looking figure appears right behind him. The boy covers his ears, trying to block a sound that only he can hear, but it's useless. The pain gets stronger and stronger, and the boy writhes as pink energy rays surround him. Suddenly, he stands up with his eyes glowing red, and a tail appears behind him. However, the power is too much for his body, and he ends up passing out on the courtyard floor. Passed out on the ground, our protagonist seems to be in a very deep trance-like state. Inside his mind, a strange form begins to manifest in a very bizarre way. This form expands, and he is completely confused, wondering what on earth that is. The boy then begins to float on a wave of this dark and very mysterious substance. With a confused expression, he tries to understand the crazy situation he has gotten himself into. Suddenly, the young man spots a giant object that looks like an ancient seal scroll. He continues to float in the darkness toward this giant and very strange scroll. The dark substance completely envelops him, and the boy starts to scream in pain and despair. Now he is falling into a dark, endless abyss while desperately screaming for help. A bright figure suddenly appears amidst a powerful red yin-yang symbol. Meanwhile, strange dark markings begin to appear on the protagonist's neck. A futuristic interface appears in front of him with the words loading and initial authorization. In the real world, his brother comes out with a tray of food and sees him passed out in the courtyard. Startled by the scene, the older brother ends up dropping the food tray on the ground. The food scatters across the floor as he runs to help his little brother who is down. The brother holds him desperately while the sister-in-law runs over to help, worried about what happened. Slowly, the black-haired boy begins to open his eyes and finally wakes up from his faint. Sitting up, he looks at his brother and sister-in-law who seem relieved that he woke up okay. The older brother is happy, and the young man says he's fine and needs to go back to the forge shop. As his brother advises him to rest, a strange blue screen appears in front of him out of nowhere. The screen shows that he's become an armament soldier, and the young man is shocked to have a real system. In his mind, a flood of information rushes in, along with a strong desire to wield a sword. The system shows that to evolve, he needs very expensive materials, which makes him thoughtful. He says goodbye to the couple, saying he needs to earn money and will be back home in a few days. The boy lies about a technique so as not to worry them and now wants to test his new secret power. Back at the forge shop, he goes to the middle courtyard where the other apprentices are training. Looking at the weapons, he feels a strong urge to start using his new master ability. With a very determined look, our hero walks toward the group training in the courtyard. Everyone stops what they're doing and falls completely silent, watching the young man approach. A master explains the 6 harmonies of the Whiteup's cloak hammer technique to everyone. The red-haired master strikes one of the apprentices to correct his posture during training. The young man cries out in pain from the hard blow he received from his instructor in the middle of the courtyard. The master explains that with unstable feet, his strikes will always be very weak and useless. To enter the inner courtyard, one must master the art of the hammer, and our hero thinks he's cruel. The instructor then tells everyone to grab their hammers and assume the horse stance to train. Our hero's system analyzes the training hammer and shows all the information about it. He gets excited about the power of the ceremony and decides to calm down so he doesn't draw attention there. The master demonstrates a move, and the boy compares it to animal imitation styles. Later, the master talks with the head cook about the difficulty of mastering the horse stance. The cook then asks the master, named Chun, which of the young apprentices have the most potential. Fatty's son walks with Master Chun and comments on the boys from poorer families there. Then, the cook yells at the apprentices, telling them to train hard without being lazy. With a very strange smile on his face, the head cook seems to be up to something. Our hero notices the way the fat guy is looking at him and feels that something is wrong. At the end of the day, the boy is exhausted and thinks to himself that he won't be able to take it much longer. The boy complains that the horse stance uses too much energy and his body is too weak to handle it. Looking around, he sees several apprentices passed out and realizes that only he and New Guy are still standing. New Gui watches with a serious look as our hero finally gives up on the tough training. With a proud smile, he sits on the ground, thinking he's the big shot of the middle courtyard. Later that night, the moon is high in the sky, and a lantern illuminates the dark place. The young man goes over to the training hammers and picks one up to test his system without anyone noticing. He discovers that out of the 43 hammers, only a dozen are adept level and stronger. Searching carefully, he finds the darkest colored hammer and believes it's the best of them all. With his new weapon in hand, he prepares to use his secret ability with determination. The boy then concentrates and uses his power to wield the hammer he chose for the test. Suddenly, the giant tool vanishes into thin air, and the young man is completely shocked by what happened. Inside his system, he sees that the platform is small and can only store a few weapons at a time. Now he can summon the hammer at any moment with a simple thought and great ease. The boy uses his power to connect to a giant seal as other weapons appear around it. Out of nowhere, he feels the same headache as before and wonders why it's happening again. Inside his mind, the system forces him to practice repeatedly, and he's shocked by the function. Now he understands all the details of the horse stance, from his feet to his arms and his gaze. The next day, the rooster crows loudly, announcing the start of another morning of hard work. New Gui wakes up with back and waist pain from the previous day's heavy training. As he steps out, he finds our hero already up and moving his fingers in a very strange way. Surprised, New Gui shouts and asks when he woke up, suspecting the boy trained all night. The young man smiles and says he just woke up, leaving New Gui confused by his infectious energy. New Gui thinks he has too much energy and concludes that the boy wouldn't have the guts to train in secret. With a confident smile, the black-haired boy thinks that New Gui will never be able to understand him. Later that day, he continues his daily chores at the forge shop with renewed spirits. While carrying firewood, he realizes he didn't become super strong overnight as he had hoped. However, his control over his strength is on another level, and he can feel the entire flow of power. The young man then clenches his fist, determined to enter the inner courtyard to train for real. Master Kun announces that today he will teach the hammer technique and tells everyone to grab their weapons. The apprentices complain about the stance training because they can barely eat and can't take it anymore. Our hero then grabs the heavy iron hammer that he stored in his system the night before. With a confident smile, he feels a special connection to the weapon as if it were a part of him. One of the instructors yells at the apprentices to take the training seriously and stop messing around. A curious boy asks Brother Lu how long it usually takes to reach the novice level. Master Kun explains that an average person takes half a year and calls New Guy to demonstrate the first form. Our protagonist reaffirms to himself his goal of entering the inner courtyard as quickly as possible. The instructor corrects a young man's posture, and the black-haired boy notices he's almost there. Holding his hammer firmly, our hero decides it's time to try using the technique. He executes a perfect move with the hammer, releasing an impressive wave of blue energy. The other apprentices and Brother Lu are completely shocked by his demonstration of power. Far away, the head cook invites Master Kun for a drink with him in a small room. The master refuses more drinks, saying he needs to go back and check on the young apprentice's training. The cook then comments on a rumor about a new shop in another province, and the master is surprised. Fatty's son mentions a dangerous guy known as a venomous dragon from the Divine Weapon Valley. He quickly plays it down and asks Master Kun not forget him if any opportunities come up at the shop. With a serious expression, Master Kun pays attention to the conversation about the young apprentice. Fatty's son points to the boy and asks if that's Li Lin's younger brother training there. Meanwhile, our hero smiles while holding his hammer, and the other apprentices are completely confused. Master Kun praises the boy, saying his talent with the hammer is an incredible natural gift. The other instructor is completely confused by Master Kun's reaction, who turns his back and leaves. He wonders if the young apprentice offended Master Kun in some way for him to leave like that. The sun sets on the horizon, and another day of intense training finally comes to an end. Back in the weapon storage, our hero looks for something else to test his power. He then finds a woodcutter's axe and is surprised he hadn't seen it there before. His system analyzes the object and classifies it as a lower-level, unranked item. After so much training, he gets really hungry and realizes he needs to find a way to make money. With that in mind, the young man decides to go into the city and stops in front of a busy butcher's shop. Inside, he spends a little of his money to buy a piece of meat to eat. Seeing the butcher's cleaver, our hero approaches and asks if he can take a look. The man agrees without any problem and hands his tool over for the boy to examine calmly. Holding the cleaver, the system analyzes it as a common meat knife with no power grade. With a smile on his face, he asks the butcher if he can sell the knife to him. The man offers it for 1 coin, and our hero accepts the offer right away without hesitation. Running through the street, he returns to the shop, all excited with his new purchase and a piece of meat. With a golden glow around him, he celebrates having gotten a new weapon to use. Inside his system, he sees that the boning knife has replaced the training hammer in the registry. The boy thinks about the swap and realizes his system has a limit on the number of weapons it can store. He panics when he realizes he needs to upgrade the registry to be able to command more weapons. That night, the head cook relaxes in a hot bath while the boy complains about the conditions. Suddenly, the fat man calls our protagonist's name, which is Li Yuan, and beckons him over. The cook then tells him to go get some more hot water for his relaxing bath. While pouring the water, the fat guy says it's a shame he's good with the hammer, and the young man asks why. He explains that the fortress bear likes everything, but what he loves most in life are women. The man says they have a woman with the surname Niu, and the boy is very surprised by this information. With a serious face, the protagonist immediately wonders if this woman is related to Niu Guy. The cook explains that Chunxiang doesn't normally teach martial arts to the shop's apprentices. Our hero just nods in silence as he continues to pour hot water into the man's bath. The fat guy reveals that Niu Guy joined the middle courtyard because each outer courtyard got 1 spot. Back in his room, the young man mentally thanks head cook's son for his advice. The cook asks if he's resentful for not getting into the inner courtyard, and he denies it. The man then says that the white ape's hammer art wouldn't be passed down to him so easily. Our protagonist is shocked and asks if the version he learned isn't the complete one. Fatty Son explains that without the complete method, it would take 3 to 5 years to reach the novice level. The boy starts massaging the man's back and feels just how strong the cook really is. With tears in his eyes, he realizes that the man's body is incredibly tough and muscular. The cook assesses the boy's constitution as average, but with bones that are still a bit weak. The young man offers to learn how to cook from him and is surprised by the fat guy's skills. Fatty Son laughs and says he's smart for wanting to eat some extra food since the courtyard's food is bad. With a cute smile, our hero agrees and says he's also good at manual labor and cooks well. The cook is surprised and asks if it's true, and the young man nods his head, all excited. With a cleaver in hand, our hero prepares to show off his culinary skills to the chief. He grabs a handful of fresh herbs to use in preparing the food for the head cook. With quick and precise movements, he begins to chop the herbs with the kitchen cleaver. Fatty Son watches him closely and asks how many years he's been doing manual labor like that. The young man replies that it's been a few years but thinks about how his past life helped him with it. He then bows, says he just wants to eat well, and is at head cook's son's command. The fat man smiles with a sly look as he assesses the sincerity of the boy in front of him. He agrees to have him as an assistant, and the young man wonders how he knows about his brother's money. The cook then decides to teach him the white ape's breathing method to improve. Our protagonist's eyes shine with happiness for the incredible opportunity he just got. Outside in the courtyard, he trains the hammer technique and thanks the head cook for his help. Several months pass and winter arrives, bringing the cold and snow to the forge shop. The city streets are covered in snow, but people continue their lives as usual. Our hero, now stronger, walks through the city and plans to reach the novice level soon. Because of his skill with math, he was put in charge of purchasing for the middle courtyard. At a street stall, he is surprised to find a shoe for sale along with the meats and fish. The shoe seems to be of good quality despite being a bit worn and dirty from time. The vendor explains that he took the broken shoe from some random guy, and the young man laughs at the situation. With his shopping basket, he picks up the shoe to analyze it with his system and see if it's worth it. He is shocked to discover that it's a Tier 1 boot, the first tiered weapon he has found. The vendor offers the boot for 1 can of silver, but our hero thinks the price is too high. Seeing that he's about to leave, the vendor panics and says they can negotiate a better price. The young man then pretends to be interested in the spices, and the vendor offers the boot for free with the purchase. He accepts the deal but thinks to himself that he tricked the vendor to get what he wanted. The snow-covered roof of a house marks the end of another day of shopping for the kitchen. Running through an alley, our hero is eager to test out his new and powerful acquisition. With a golden glow, he uses his power to wield the boot he bought at the market stall. In his system, he now has the boot, the hammer, and the knife as his registered weapons. With a smile on his face, he holds the powerful boot and wonders if having just one will have any effect. Suddenly, the boot multiplies, and now he has a complete pair ready to be used in battle. Running at high speed, the boy tests the boot's power and is surprised by how fast he has become. With his eyes shining with excitement, he decides he needs to upgrade his system as soon as possible. Suddenly, he hears someone shout the name Liang A. Shu and stops in the middle of the alley to see what's going on. He follows the sound and finds a crowd gathered, wondering if the guy caught another spirit fish. A man explains that Liang A. Shui caught 3 spirit fish and joined a martial arts school. Our hero observes the crowd and recognizes Master Kyun among all the people there. The master approaches Liang A. Shui and offers to buy the rare fish he caught. The young man is disappointed that he didn't find any fishing-related weapons to use. Seeing that it's still early, he decides to go home and rest after a long day of shopping. Arriving home, he finds his older brother clearing snow from the front of the door with a shovel. His brother is happy to see him back, and the boy greets him with a smile on his face. He shows off the cured fish he bought on the way home as a gift for his family. The older brother praises him for getting stronger and invites him to eat the meat together. He then says he made a winter coat for the boy and tells him to try it on to see if it fits. Surprised, our hero asks where he got the money, since a coat like that is very expensive. The older brother explains that he cut extra firewood and used his sister-in-law's salary to buy the coat. He insists that the boy accept the gift, and our hero puts on the new coat to please him. With a smile, the brother pats his head and comments on how fast he has grown. With a serious expression, our protagonist looks down, thoughtful about his family's situation. He then asks his brother directly if he borrowed money from someone for the coat. The older brother is surprised and asks who told him about the loan from Fatty. Looking out the window, he takes a deep breath and prepares to tell his brother the whole truth. He confesses that he borrowed money at high interest, but that the family still has savings. Our hero says that he doesn't need to borrow money because of him and feels guilty. The sister-in-law enters the room, and the boy greets her with respect and a bit of shame. We see that the woman's hands are full of sores from the hard work she does. She tells him to take the coat with him, and our hero thanks her for the gift and her kindness. The older brother notices his wife's injured hands and offers to get hot water for her. The young man says goodbye, saying he ate at noon, but the sister-in-law insists he eat before he goes. He runs off at high speed, and the older brother sighs, impressed with his quickness. The snow falls gently on the roof as our hero walks back to the forge shop. He thinks about the loan shark Chun Bao and how his brother managed to pay off the debt despite being a simple person. The young man worries about the danger of high-interest loans and hopes nothing bad happens. He decides he needs to reach the entry level with the hammer to improve and earn money. That night, the full moon illuminates the snow-covered sky as the boy prepares to train. He practices the breathing method that Fatty's son taught him and finds the technique very tiring. Using his system, he swaps the boots for the training hammer to continue his nightly practice. Wielding the hammer, he begins to train the movements of the white ape technique with full force. He spins the hammer, creating a whirlwind of wind and snow around him with great skill. The noise of the training wakes up the head cook, who is sleeping peacefully in his room. Annoyed, the man comes out to see who is making so much noise and disturbing people's sleep. He is surprised to see our hero training alone in the middle of the night with such dedication. The boy senses the cook's presence and notices that his perception has become much more sensitive. With wide eyes, he is surprised to realize that the breathing method really worked. Now he feels the blood flowing through his body and is eager to test his technique on someone. With a smile, the head cook calls him inside to have a late-night snack. Our hero is surprised by the invitation and even more so that Fatty's son called him by his name. The fat man serves him a medicinal wine, saying he needs to replenish his body's energy. He forces him to drink, and the boy doesn't understand the head cook's sudden change in attitude. The fat guy asks how he reached the entry level so quickly with an average constitution. He says the spot for the inner courtyard should be his, and the boy thinks about how it all happened. With a smile, he asks if the spot isn't reserved for new guy, whom everyone knows. Fatty's son encourages him to fight for the spot, but the young man is afraid of offending Master Chen. The man then reveals that Kyun Xiang is about to awaken his internal energy and become a chief. He says the shop's rules must be followed and that Kyun Xiang can't just do whatever he wants. Our protagonist is confused because he remembers Fatty's son flattering Master Kyun before. The cook advises him to fight for his place because without support, he won't get very far. He says the choice is the boy's, but that he saw his talent and decided to give him some advice. The young man thanks him for the advice, and the two toast with the medicinal wine at the kitchen table. After drinking, the head cook falls asleep and starts snoring very loudly in his chair. Leaving the kitchen, our hero opens the door to his room, ready to train all night. With his body warm from the medicinal wine, he feels that he has finally advanced in his cultivation. He trains all night and wakes up refreshed, ready to stack the hammer strikes with perfection. The next morning, he goes out with his hammer, ready for another day of hard training in the courtyard. New guy watches him and realizes he lied about not training, calling him cunning for it. With a furious look, he shouts Leon's name, determined to challenge him to a duel. The boy calls him out for a fight, but our hero doesn't seem the least bit interested in the challenge. He refuses the fight and walks away, leaving New Guy furious and embarrassed by the rejection. Suddenly, head cook appears and says someone is looking for him in the shop's courtyard. New Guy thinks he refused out of fear, and our hero wonders if his brother came back. Fatty Sun says they are bailiffs and asks if he hasn't been up to any trouble. Two officers approach, and one of them introduces himself as Chu Dai, investigating a criminal case. Our protagonist is shocked by the news and fears that something terrible has happened to his brother. The officer tells him to answer the questions without hiding anything to help with the investigation. He then asks if the boy remembers a spice vendor named Lu San at the market. The boy is relieved to learn that the investigation has nothing to do with his older brother. He confirms that he bought spices from the vendor, but the officer asks if that was all. Officer Chu Dai stares at him with a suspicious look, seemingly not fully believing his words. Fatty Sun intervenes and says he sent the young man to buy the ingredients and has a record of everything. Satisfied with the answers, the officer concludes the questioning and says he's heading to the next location. The head cook says a polite goodbye as the officers leave the shop's courtyard. Our hero is surprised by the fat guy's attitude, who defended him in front of the bailiffs. Fatty Sun says the officer is stubborn and that the criminal case has nothing to do with the boy. He reveals that the vendor's entire family was taken out of the picture, along with his 5 neighbors. The cook says that more than 10 people were taken out of the picture and that the city is under martial law. With wide eyes, our hero wonders if the crime has something to do with the boots he bought. He is shocked at the idea that someone would do all that for a pair of old, worn-out boots. Fatty Sun yells at him to get back to work, and the young man is startled by the sudden shout. The boy runs off through the snow to continue his daily chores in the Ford shop's kitchen. Officer Chu Da comments that the boy is hiding something, and his partner suggests interrogating him. The officer says he can't arrest anyone without proof, but his partner reminds him of the martial law. He says the empire was founded on martial arts and that the imperial court needs to maintain order. The partner warns him that Liang Aishui is very talented and is about to be sent to another valley. The officer is surprised by the news of the Divine Weapon Valley but soon starts laughing loudly. He says the empire rules the world alongside the sects and that the law must be upheld. The officers head to the martial arts school to continue their investigation into the case. In a dark place, an injured man in torn clothes hides in the shadows, afraid. With eyes glowing with anger, he glares at the man on the floor and complains about his clothes and shoes. He starts to rough up the fallen man with great force and aggression, showing no mercy. The injured man stops the attack, saying he can't finish him off just yet because he needs clues. With a vengeful look, he swears he will make everyone pay when he recovers from his injuries. He then leaves the dark place and hides behind the door so as not to be seen by anyone. Peeking through the crack, he observes his surroundings with a look full of hatred and a thirst for revenge. He swears he will get revenge on whoever dared to take his things and that he won't rest until he does. That night, the moon illuminates the snow-covered roofs of the Ford shop and the city. In his room, he holds the boot and wonders if it hides some kind of important secret. He begins to inspect the boot carefully but finds nothing special or different about it. Without meaning to, he accidentally tears the boot and is shocked to have ruined his precious item. However, he notices that there's something hidden inside the torn sole of the boot. He finds a martial arts manual hidden in the sole of the boot and is very surprised. The manual teaches a battle hammer technique from the Divine Weapon Valley, and he is shocked. Now he understands why the vendor and the others were taken out of the picture because of this boot. He realizes that the criminal knows the boot is with him and that he might be being watched. The manual describes the battle hammer technique and says it cannot be taught to outsiders. He discovers that the manual is incomplete and that the boot only contained half of the secret technique. The boy complains about it being another hammer technique, but acknowledges that it's one of the strongest. Since he is being hunted, he decides he has no choice but to learn the technique to defend himself. The city lockdown lasts for more than 2 months but is eventually lifted before the new year. In a dark alley, the same injured man from before hides, shivering from cold and pain. With injured hands, he struggles to survive in the city as the snow continues to fall. The injured man wonders how there can be so many internal energy masters in such a small place. He remembers a blow that almost took him out of the picture and decides it's better to leave. His bloody hand touches the shoulder of a skeleton lying on the ground. He steps on the skeleton and walks out the door with a look of contempt and indifference to the scene. In the city, fireworks light up the night sky in celebration of the approaching new year. Meanwhile, the injured man continues to hide in the ruins of a building, shivering from the cold. Elsewhere, a young man complains about the heavy snow and says he has no desire to leave the house. Shivering from the cold, he hugs himself to try to warm up a bit in the middle of the strong blizzard. He is impressed by the dedication of those who train non-stop, even in the freezing weather outside. The young man then goes out into the snow and begins to train with his sword, making quick and precise movements. Elsewhere, Nuga trains with his hammer in the middle of the snow, determined to get stronger. He shouts excitedly, announcing that he has finally reached the entry level in the technique. The other apprentices congratulate him on the achievement and express their envy of his rapid progress. They ask Nuga not to forget them when he enters the inner courtyard and praise him. One of them comments about our hero, and Nuga doubts that he has reached the entry level. The snow continues to fall on the roofs of the forge shop, creating a winter landscape. One of the apprentices tells the others to get back to work and thinks about distancing himself from the commoners. New Gui decides he needs to tell his brother-in-law that he has reached the entry level in the technique. He then decides to go check out our hero to see what he's doing in the courtyard. Arriving there, he finds the door ajar and decides to peek in to see what's happening. With his eye to the crack, he tries to see what our protagonist is up to all alone in there. He is surprised to see a snowman holding a hammer in the middle of the snow-covered courtyard. New Gui opens the door, startled, thinking our hero froze to death in the middle of the cold. Suddenly, the snowman explodes in a cloud of snow, revealing our hero in the middle of it. He spins in the air with his hammer, creating a whirlwind of snow around him with great force. New Gui is impressed by the demonstration of power and skill from his rival in the courtyard. He is completely shocked and speechless, wondering what on earth is happening there. Our hero continues to train his hammer movements with impressive and swift agility. He leaps into the air and delivers a powerful blow with his hammer, showing his mastery of the technique. New Gui is stunned to realize that Liyuan has mastered the White Ape's cloak hammer technique. Shocked by the scene, New Gui runs to tell his brother-in-law about our hero's progress. Meanwhile, the boy thinks about how to improve his technique, and the cook reminds him of a debt. He asks to borrow more money from Fatty's son, but the man tells him to get lost right away. With a cute smile, he promises he will pay it all back and tries to convince the cook. The fat guy says he only lends it because he's progressing and asks how much he needs this time. Fatty's son is furious with the amount of 13 taels and threatens to hit him with his kitchen ladles. The young man asks about a commotion in the city, and the cook explains about an ambush at the shop. He is surprised to learn that the general manager captured the attacker, but the disciples had a bad time. Suddenly, Master Chun arrives and calls our hero over to talk with him in private. The boy notices that the master is even stronger and more muscular than before and follows him. Master Chun praises him for his remarkable talent, and the young man says he was well taught by him. He says the spot should be his but that he already promised it to New Gui and asks if he minds. The boy says he wouldn't dare, and the master corrects him, saying that should not be his answer. He then promises that next year's spot will be his and dismisses him to continue his training. Leaving the room, our hero smiles, thinking about how he made some good connections that year. New Gui says he can wait a year, but Master Kyun scolds him for his lack of ambition. He reveals that the Divine Weapon Valley will open its gates next year, and the shop has invested a lot in it. The master says that New Gui's talent is superior to our hero's, and that he can enter the valley. He hands New Gui a vial to help him in his training and encourages him to continue. New Gui is excited about the chance to enter the Divine Weapon Valley, and the master encourages him to train. Our hero thinks about Master Kyun and wonders if Fatty's son will be able to handle him in the future. He decides to go to the market to try his luck and find a tiered weapon to use in his system. At the market, he sees several powerful weapons but laments that none of them are his to use. He then spots an old man and a young boy selling animal pelts and a very peculiar scythe. Curious, he approaches and asks the old man how much he wants for the scythe he is selling. The old man refuses to sell, saying the scythe was a gift from his grandfather and has sentimental value. Our hero asks to take a look, and the old man warns him to be careful as the scythe is sharp. Upon holding the scythe, he realizes that it's a tiered weapon and gets excited about the discovery. The system analyzes the scythe and reveals that it was forged with high-quality black gold iron. He is shocked to discover that the scythe is even better than the boot and grants a powerful technique. He gets excited to find out that the scythe grants mastery in long weapons, a rare skill. With his eyes shining, he offers 3 taels for the scythe, and the old man is shocked by the amount. In a dark, snow-covered alley, he prepares to test his new and powerful weapon. He wields the scythe with a golden glow and adds it to his system's weapon registry. Since he has already mastered the hammer technique, he decides to replace the training hammer with the scythe. He uses his power to connect to the golden seal, but something strange happens this time. With wide eyes, he feels a wave of information suddenly flood his mind. He falls to his knees, feeling intense pain, and wonders what on earth is happening to him. Sitting on the ground, he wipes the blood from his nose and says the sensation was incredible and powerful. He celebrates having mastered the scythe technique instantly and feels very lucky. Now with new skills, he wonders if he's strong enough to defeat Master Kin yet. He hears his sister-in-law complaining about his and his brother's debts and feels a little guilty. He picks up a wooden staff and tests it to see if it's sturdy enough for his plan. Satisfied with the staff's solidity, he prepares to put his plan into action that night. He trains with the staff and decides that if the thugs attack him, he will fight with everything he's got. With a mischievous smile, he prepares to put his plan of revenge into action that night. He climbs onto the snow-covered roof and opens a crack to spy on what's happening inside. Sitting on the roof, he watches Qianbao's house, waiting for the right moment to strike. Inside, Qianbao's men are having dinner and talking about their boss's interest in our hero's sister-in-law. Furious, he discovers that Qianbao used to be a worker for his family and now has bad intentions towards his sister-in-law. 2 of the men go out to use the restroom, and our hero sees the perfect opportunity to attack. He is disgusted to see the 2 men relieving themselves together in the snow and prepares for the attack. He leaps from the roof and flies towards the 2 men who are distracted and vulnerable. With a precise strike, he hits both men with his staff, leaving them unconscious in the snow. He wipes his nose and feels satisfied with the result of his successful surprise attack. One of the men comes out and calls for the other two, wondering where they've been for so long. Our hero attacks him with the staff and knocks him to the ground with a strong and precise blow to the head. The noise draws the attention of the other men, who come running out to see what's happening. Our protagonist covers his face and prepares to face the group of men approaching. The gang leader glares at him angrily and challenges him for daring to cause trouble on his turf. Without hesitation, our hero attacks the group of men with his staff and defeats them with ease. He storms the house and takes down all the henchmen who try to stop him from advancing inside. With all the henchmen on the ground, he mocks them for being so weak even though they outnumbered him. The gang leader, fallen on the ground, asks who he is and curses him for attacking him by surprise. The boy holds the staff firmly and prepares to teach the gang leader a lesson. With a powerful blow, he hits the man in the head, leaving him dizzy and confused from the impact. The boss groans in pain as blood trickles from his mouth after the boy's well-aimed strike. Furious, our hero begins to rough up the man lying on the ground with his staff without mercy. He spins and hits all the fallen men with his staff, leaving a trail of destruction. The gang leader's face is all bruised, and he seems to have lost consciousness in the snow. The boy is surprised by the strength of his legs but quickly focuses on his main objective. He storms into the house and starts breaking everything in search of something important he needs to find. After ransacking the house, he finally finds a hidden chest and opens it with a smile. He opens the chest carefully to see what's inside and is surprised by what he finds there. Inside the chest, he finds several documents and begins to read them with attention and curiosity. Furious, he rips up all the loan documents and vows to teach the loan shark a lesson. With a mischievous smile, he takes all the money from the chest as a reluctant agent of justice. He runs off with his weapons and the money from the chest before anyone sees him at the scene. He flees the scene with a smile on his face, leaving the henchman lying in the snow. He reassures himself, thinking that no one saw him and that it can all be considered self-defense. With a determined look, he warns the gang leader to never cross his path again. He feels good about being a good person and doing good deeds to help those in need. The snow begins to fall gently from the night sky as he walks back to the shop. Looking at the moon, he feels at peace and ready for whatever the future holds for him. He feels confident that he is about to ascend and become a powerful Daoist master. He practices his Kwai and blood technique and thinks about how he can speed up his cultivation progress. Fatty Sun hits him with a box and hands him the medicinal meals he had requested earlier. He swears to pay the cook back and says he'll be faster than the others at mastering the technique. The fat guy warns him to be back in time for the exam, and our hero feels guilty for roughing up the thugs. He asks his brother about Qian Bao's parents and pours a drink for the two of them to talk. The brother says it was Chun Xiang who told him about the recruitment of apprentices at the forge. Our hero realizes that Chun Xiang is keeping an eye on his brother and sister-in-law and decides not to give up on the exam. He takes a sip of the drink and feels refreshed and more determined to protect his family. With a furious look, he slams the cup on the table and vows that he will get into the inner courtyard no matter what. He plans to use the money to upgrade his weapon mastery and defeat Chun Xiang easily. Master Chum seems suspicious of the young man's attitude and watches him with a serious look. New Guy says that Liang Aishui has disappeared, and the master doesn't believe he could be the culprit. Master Kyun says he has taught New Guy the exam and expects him not to disappoint in the test. The day of the exam arrives and our hero walks with Fatty Sun through the snow-covered streets. He hears some apprentices commenting on the absence of Wang Gong, the son of the third shopkeeper. Fatty Sun explains that some were added at the last minute and that they don't count towards the quota. He warns him that the third test's been changed to an assessment of bone quality, and that could be a problem. The young man realizes that Master Kyun probably pulled some strings to change the test suddenly. Fatty Sun advises him to do his best, and our hero promises he won't let him down. The apprentices gather in the courtyard for the start of the inner courtyard exam at the forge shop. The shopkeepers watch the apprentices from above as the exam for the inner courtyard begins. The three shopkeepers of the weapon forge observe the participants with attention and seriousness. The first shopkeeper, Tang Tong, tells Chun Xiang to announce the exam rules to everyone present. He explains that the inner courtyard offers many benefits and that everyone will receive a reward. Master Kun calls for those who have already reached the entry level in the hammer technique to step forward. He gets annoyed seeing our hero present himself and questions why he showed up. He announces that everyone will have to undergo a bone assessment to be admitted to the courtyard. Several muscular men carry heavy iron blocks for the exam strength test. Master Chun tells each one to choose a hammer and strike the iron ingot to show their skill. Our hero prepares for the test with his hammer alongside other apprentices and a girl. With a powerful move, he stumps on the ground and prepares to show his strength in the test. He spins the hammer and strikes the iron block with a precise and energy-filled blow. The strike releases a wave of golden energy, and everyone is shocked by his display of power. Master Chun's eyes go wide as he realizes our hero's level of mastery. Shopkeeper Cao Yan is also impressed with the young man's skill and watches him with interest. He continues to strike the iron block with full force, showing his mastery with the hammer. The first shopkeeper recognizes that he has achieved lesser mastery and is impressed with his skill. Shopkeeper Tao Yan tells Kun Sheng to get out of the way, and the master is shocked by the sudden order. He can't believe the boy achieved lesser mastery in such a short time and with weak bones. Our hero continues to strike the iron with his hammer, releasing a powerful golden energy. Fatty's son celebrates the young man's achievement and yells that he did very well on the strength test. The boy combines the mastery of the training hammer with the cloak technique and achieves lesser mastery. He leaps into the air, ready for the next test of the inner courtyard exam at the forge shop. Looking down, he realizes that something is wrong and panics at the unexpected situation. Nugui watches him from a distance and prepares for whatever comes next in the exam. He steps into the snow and prepares to attack with his hammer, showing his own skill. With a clenched fist, he focuses to unleash all his power in the next attack. He advances toward our hero with his hammer ready for a direct and decisive confrontation. Our hero smiles confidently and thinks that Master Kun is surprised that he has tricks up his sleeve. The first shopkeeper praises the boy for his rapid progress and asks for his name. Fatty's son is proud to have taught the breathing method to our hero, Li Yuan. The first shopkeeper praises the boy's talent and says he should place first in the assessment. The third shopkeeper suggests that Guard Chun teach him, but the first shopkeeper disagrees with the idea. He bows and accepts the manager's order, but our hero is suspicious of his intentions. The second shopkeeper gives him the choice between having Guard Kun as a master or going to the courtyard. Our hero chooses to go to the inner courtyard, and Master Kun glares at him with a look of contempt. The first shopkeeper says he will test him personally in 7 days, and the boy thanks him. He tells him to get his constitution checked, and the boy agrees with a simple nod. Master Kun watches him from a distance with a furious and resentful look towards the young man. In the forge room, several men work hard in the heat of the furnaces to create weapons. An old master assesses the boy's constitution as below average and squeezes him tightly. Another man confirms the assessment, and our hero feels the strength of the old master's grip. He asks how constitution is judged, and the old man explains that it's all a matter of experience. He invites him to join the forge room, and our hero asks to see the warehouse first. Since he placed first, the old man agrees to let him take a look and takes him to choose a hammer. Nugui watches our hero from a distance and vows that he will surpass him with lots of training and dedication. The old master takes him to the weapon warehouse to choose a hammer and registers it with his name. The guards open the huge warehouse gates, and they enter the place filled with weapons. The old man follows him, and the boy feels the strong reaction from his weapon mastery system. He follows the master into the warehouse, eager to see the weapons stored there. The warehouse is filled with swords, and the old man explains about the 2 most famous types from the forge. With his eyes shining, our hero is sure that he will find several tiered weapons in there. The old man shows him a rare jade saber and warns him to be careful with its sharp blade. The boy holds the saber carefully, and the old master tests it by cutting his own finger on the blade. Blood drips down the saber, and the old man praises the weapon's quality with a satisfied smile. He boasts about being the blacksmith who gave every inch of that saber its unique pattern. The system analyzes the jade saber and classifies it as a Tier 1 weapon with 3 effects. The old master encourages him to learn forging, and the boy asks about the hammers he mentioned. The master takes him to another section of the warehouse where the hammers are stored on shelves. The young man realizes that the old man took him the long way around to show off the jade saber. The old master challenges him to pick his hammer and promises to give it to him if he gets it right on the first try. Without hesitation, he chooses a hammer, and the system analyzes it as a Tier 2 weapon with 4 effects. The old man is shocked and asks how he chose the right hammer, and the boy says it was intuition. The master laughs and says it's a great coincidence and that they must be destined to meet. The young man takes advantage of the situation and asks to learn the art of forging from the old master. He is excited about the chance to become an apprentice to the best blacksmith in the forge shop. The old master looks at him with a serious gaze and evaluates the young man before him with attention. He agrees to teach him, and the boy thanks him for being so well thought of by the master blacksmith.